All right, so if you notice anything change with your ad performance or you're in your ad account and you see some settings are changed, it's probably these meta ad enhancements. So I'm gonna go over what these are, which ones to keep, which ones to turn off, and how to set them up. This is important because some of these are on by default. So if you don't turn them off, they'll just automatically be on and they won't help your performance. And in fact, they might even hurt the performance of your ads. So what these are AI-driven tweaks that can be applied to your ad to try improving performance. So Meta's making an attempt to make your ads better, but of course it doesn't always know, so you need to review these yourself. So sometimes these enhancements can help, sometimes these enhancements can hurt. So the rule is just to never turn everything on. There's probably no scenario unless you have no idea what your messaging should be and you just want to just let Meta take over everything. There's no instance where you should have every enhancement turned on automatically. So these are some of the enhancements that I believe are safe. And the first one is dynamic descriptions. These just pull details from your feed to add to your description. That's fine, doesn't hurt. Visual touch-ups, especially for images, these are mostly okay. Just resizing and cropping for different placements, that's cool. Relevant comments, this just adds social proof. It might take comments from other posts and use them in newer ads, that's okay. Brightness and contrast, again, especially for images, this is fine. So in short, anything that adjusts, crops, or uses existing assets, especially for images, is mostly safe. Now, what I would be careful with and probably not even turn on is enhanced CTAs, visual touch-ups for videos. I would be careful with this because you can have faces cropped or important action scenes or whatever that's happening in your video get cut out. So I would be careful with visual touch-ups when it comes to videos. For images, it's cool. Any sort of overlays, I would not add overlays. These can make your ads look cheap when you don't want them to, or your brand, I should say. Any sort of background generation or image expansion, I would be careful with this because it can just come up with some weird things that don't make sense. Anything related to text improvements, so if it changes your primary text, your headline, or even text in the ad creative itself, I would be careful with, especially if you need to add certain disclaimers in your ads. But in general, you want to have control over your messaging and be able to test that with the ads that you're creating. Music, I've seen that Meta will add music that doesn't fit your brand or at least the vibe of the ad that you're putting out. So if you're going to add music to your ads, I would just do that manually and not let Meta take that over. And then site links, I would always turn off any site link related enhancement. This just gives users something else to click on outside of your CTA, so you don't need that. So in short, for the things to be careful with, you want to be careful with anything that generates new elements in your ad, changes what your ad says, changes how it feels. So like music, for example, or adds more clickable options like site links. So what's typically safe is anything that adjusts, crops, or uses existing assets. And then anything that generates new elements, changes what your ad says, changes how it feels, or adds more clickable options, either turn it off or make sure you thoroughly review it before you hit publish. Now, how you want to do this is you go into your ad manager, click on your campaign, and then you want to go into the ad level. So once you're in the ad level, you want to scroll down to the ad creative section. This is, of course, if you're creating a new ad, go to the ad creative section and then select add image, for example. And then after you add all of your details, like your media, your cropping, texting, and so on, you'll see at the bottom enhancements. And you'll get a bunch of different options for enhancements, and just make sure you follow this list. But more importantly, the themes here, not only because for each account, the enhancements are slightly different. Like I've seen in different accounts, some people have different enhancements. Other people have completely separate enhancements. But in general, like if it crops or uses existing assets and adjusts things, makes things brighter, make things that are existing look a little better, that's fine. But anything that makes meaningful changes, adds new assets, elements, changes what you're saying, I would get rid of. Or make sure you're testing very carefully what you're adding and reviewing thoroughly before you publish. So this is the flow if you're creating a new ad and you're selecting your enhancements. But if you have some existing ads that are already launched in the same area, if you go into your ad level for each ad, go to this ad creative section and see which enhancements they have turned on. You can just edit your media here, and you can just change which enhancements are on. Just toggle them on or off.